I was able to stop drinking by stopping trying to stop drinking. I finally shot for Jesus. And by shooting for Jesus, I got sobriety thrown in.
Okay, well, I had already started recording because I thought this was just good conversation. We really don't know each other.
Yeah.
We met briefly a year ago now, I think, over in Harvard at not a discussion. I'm trying to even remember.
I guess it was a conference on flourishing.
Yeah, a conference on human flourishing. That's exactly what it was. And we just got to rub shoulders briefly there amongst all the other people that were there. And I'm glad that the connection has remained. And now to see you using GiveSendGo is absolutely incredible for us. Love it. But I'd like you to tell a little bit of your story,
Yeah.
how you came to this place of the book that you have and what you're trying to do with it and your story around that. I think it's a powerful story. There's such a struggle in society.
Yeah.
Vices, things that capture people that just lead to death and destruction. And to be able to hear someone's journey through that and the process is so valuable because there is freedom. So
yeah, and I think more people, to your point, more people are struggling with this than we realize. And so the book is called Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic. And that's me, right? I'm the Christian who became an alcoholic, not the other way around. Usually it's the other way around, right? And the church is fine, and Christians are fine with that story.
Right.
The guy who's, under a bridge, has drank his life away, and then finds Jesus and comes into the church, and like life is so much better, right?
Yeah.
Those stories we can tell for days and get behind those. I think what we struggle with is the other way around stories. The Christian who becomes an alcoholic, the Christian who becomes an adulterer, the Christian who fill in the blank, right? And I am that guy. And yet, what I don't think so many people realize is they are that guy. They are that gal too, right?
Yeah.
And I think what is so missed is that as Christians, we think, and it's maybe not as conscious as we think, but we think that once we become Christians, we stop struggling with sin, or at least we stop struggling with the big sins. Like, it's fine if, we curse in traffic and get mad, during rush hour. Okay, that's fine. Little lie here and there, right? Yes, we still struggle with that. But all the big sins we don't struggle with anymore. And yet I think, I know that that's not true. So my story, it really starts when I'm 13, right? The first time I got drunk and well, for some people,
wow, 13.
Yeah, I grew up in Wisconsin, which is literally the drunkest state in the country, in one of the drunkest counties in the country.
Okay.
And I got drunk for the first time at 13. But my story wasn't necessarily I got drunk and then I just, for the rest of my life from that point on, I was, drinking and getting drunk. I really then didn't start, I didn't get drunk again probably till I was 21. But what all that did was it kind of created this, this underlying understanding that I knew that when things got tough, one of the ways that is very easy to escape from the feelings that you're having is to drink, to get a little buzzed, right? And so I always had that in the back of my mind. I always knew that. And I would say throughout my life, there were some periods of like heavier drinking, and then it would go back. And I talk about all this in the book, but because the first half of the book is my story and the second half is how I broke free. And so, but it really all came to a head. I published a best-selling book in 2021 on faith and mental health. And I thought, life was great, life was good, my mental health is in a good spot. And then over the next year and a half, it was the hardest time of my life.
Mm.
And there were some dealt with traumas that were going on or that had gone on in my past that I'd never dealt with. And I remembered, in a sense, how the drinking really was a way to escape. My body remembered, my mind remembered, if you will. And so by the beginning of 2023, I was a full-blown alcoholic, because I had just started. And by the way, I didn't set out, right. I wasn't like, okay, I'm just gonna, the first time. It's a slow fade. That's a chapter in the book. It's called a slow fade. It's like there is a slow fade where you start and then all of a sudden, you can look back over a year and a half and be like, oh my gosh. And so 2023, I admit that I have a problem. I work through that over the next year. I mean, just in-depth counseling and therapy with a Christian therapist. And that ends up being this new book, Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic. And the idea is, and I think it's a little bit of a different take on some of the more pervasive thoughts on sobriety. And what I mean by that is I approach it from a very distinctly Christian perspective. And
Yeah.
that is to say, my goal, like I had tried, Jacob, over the years to give up drinking, right? And it's like sometimes I was successful, but I always came back to it.
Yeah.
And really what I found is I was able to stop drinking by stopping trying to stop drinking. And people are like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I finally shot for Jesus, right?
Mm.
Like, even though I was a Christian and I go through the theology in the book, like, even though I was a Christian, I finally was able to stop by shooting for Jesus. And by shooting for Jesus, I got sobriety thrown in. Because what I say is anything that is misordered is disordered. That could be food, that could be shopping, that could be your kids, that could be your drinking, right?
Right.
Once I got those things back in order with Jesus at the top, well, then everything else, in a sense, falls into place, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so that is the message of the book. It's in pursuing Jesus. And listen, I don't deny that addiction is a physical thing. And I even go through some of the psychology there, even reframe the word alcoholic, right? And so that is, in a sense, the story. That is the book. And then you kind of, that's what gave birth to this campaign.
That's awesome. So a lot of questions popped up as you were talking. Some of them just even practical. You mentioned finding a counselor
Yeah.
and in the process there. And one of the struggles that I find is finding a good counselor because I
Mm,
think there's a lot of counselors out there that they don't have a solid foundation to
mhm.
actually give good instruction to how to operate and navigate some of these challenges. So how did you go about that place of just finding somebody? Is I think a lot of people are in this place saying, and I would tell everybody listening, um, I don't know anybody in my life, myself included, that couldn't not use a counselor. Like I think everybody could use
Yeah.
a counselor for navigating some of the issues of life. And so I would love to hear how that process even took shape for you and what it sounds like it was effective as part of the process for you. But how did that even come to take shape?
Yeah, and you're totally right. I mean, I think I've been going. I went to counseling for my mental health. I have clinical anxiety and OCD. Went for that. Went for this. So what I would say is, and this kind of been my personal approach is I like to go to a Christian who is a licensed therapist. Some people go to people who are only considered biblical counselors. I mean, you do the research and find what's best for you. I like to go to a licensed counselor that is a Christian and kind of counsels me through that perspective. And so in this situation, I have this kind of dramatic moment that I open the book with. It's called Blitzed on the Beach, and it's where I hit rock bottom on a beach in Miami. Promised my wife I'm not going to get drunk. By 1 in the morning, I am in the ocean alone, swimming in my own feces. And
Whoa.
yeah, it's a pretty dramatic moment. And so right before that, we had started talking about these traumas that I'd gone through as a kid that I had just never fully dealt with. And so I had gotten a recommendation from a friend who said, "Hey, I have a Christian trauma therapist that I'm going to for some of these things. Um, you might want to look
Okay.
into going to her." So for me, it was a recommendation from a friend, but I mean, you can Google, Christian trauma therapist or Christian counselor or a biblical counselor. And I think, and these things will come up, or get a recommendation from your church. I do, if you are a Christian, I really want to stress, I think it's important to have a Christian counseling you. Um, I just, especially as I've gotten into this addiction world, I've been surprised at, I mean, there's a lot of people, especially when it comes to addiction, which will not see it as a spiritual issue at all. I see it as both a physical and a spiritual issue.
Mm.
And I just think that if you are getting counsel from someone who is not going to admit or see this, the spiritual aspect of it, can you get sober? Absolutely. Can you get sober without Jesus? Absolutely. But you're not, I don't think, getting fully to the root of what's going on. And I don't think, we talked about that word flourishing. We met at a flourishing conference. I don't think you're going to flourish.
Yeah. Just a Bible verse pops into my head. I don't know how tightly it aligns with this, but it's Paul writing to Timothy, and he says, "For physical training is of some value, but godliness for all things." And I think that's like the physical discipline will take you to some places, and it does have
Yeah,
the value. And I think that's kind of the distinction on that level there of you can get sober in the physicality of it. Like you can
sure.
just press through and get this, thing physically tightened up, but it misses the whole other element, which is what you just said. There's godliness that has value to a whole different level in actually treating the deeper elements. The elements, I mean, this is the whole reason why we started GiveSendGo was we said, yeah, money's great. It like helps meet people's material needs, but people have greater needs than just their material needs.
Yeah,
Like you got to help give money where there's a need to help fix a difficult solution, a difficult problem. But if you aren't tapping into the immaterial realities that are connected to these situations, you're missing out. This is the whole hope that we have as believers. And it resonates with the truth of reality. Like no amount of money that you give to a mom who just lost their child in a tragic accident is consoling that mom. Now it'll pay for their funeral, like, but
hmm,
it's not like giving some consolation to a mom. But the hope of Jesus can, and
yeah.
and that we know these things to be true. This is why they say there's no atheists in foxholes. Like there is an element to the reality of life when it gets difficult that spiritual and immaterial things bubble to the surface, and that's what we're trying to address, and that's what you're talking about. Like, yeah,
Exactly. And you can, and I also want to make clear, like, you can be a Christian and still white knuckle it as well,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like it's not just because just because you're a Christian, and there are some Christian 12-step programs out there, but I've met some Christians in 12-step programs that I'm like, you're still white knuckling it. You still haven't fully given yourself over to Jesus, right?
yeah.
And so it's not even just, okay, well, I go to a Christian counselor and so I'm fine. It's like, no, you got to do the work, bro. You've got to actually get to the root and give it over to Jesus and realize that, to your point, there are some deeper issues as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this Great catch up to the background here. This is your second book. It
My
sounds
second book. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. And that leads us to your Give Send Go campaign. Want to jump
Hmm.
into this and what you're doing here. So for those of you listening, it's givesendgo.com/50 50.
Yeah.
The number 50 dash 50 hyphen, I guess, 50 hyphen 50. Uh,
Yeah.
just the numbers written out. So givesendgo.com/50 hyphen 50. And you can read about the campaign. Jon put together an excellent video on his campaign page that dives into a bunch of this. So very helpful for people. But why don't you tell us about what initiative is around the book and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. And so I think, I said a little bit earlier that the book is part memoir, if you will, part guide. And
Mm,
so the last half, the second half of the book is the four steps that I took to break free. They're what the Lord brought me through in my first year of sobriety. And one of those steps is well, I'll tell you the four steps. It starts with abiding in Christ. The second step is finding your identity, your true identity, not just your general identity as a child of God, but what He really, weaved you to do. The third one is radical vulnerability, which is really just true confession. And the fourth one is obedience. And that fourth one, obedience, is really where this campaign comes from. And so, in doing my abiding time, which is step one, the Lord kind of sometimes gives me these crazy ideas, right? And half the time, it's like I just need to be faithful to do them, and they don't turn out like how I think they're going to turn out. But the whole point is just the Lord testing me to see if I'm going to be obedient, right?
right?
And so I had this idea, I wanted to. The Lord started giving me, in a sense, this phrase around this book, which is like give back and give it away. And so I'm like, well, how can I give it away? Right. And so I was like, and I, remembered our time together at Harvard a year ago. And I was like, what if I could raise the funds to give the book away? Because I still, by the way, people like, I have a traditional publisher, and I get like one box of books for free, right? That I have to give to like my mom and, my brother
You're right.
and my in-laws, right? But other than that, like I still have to pay for the books. If I want more books, I got to pay for
Yeah, right.
them.
It's a business.
So, so I started thinking, what if I could start a campaign to raise the funds to buy a bunch of books and give them away to the people who need it the most. I
Mm,
know what it was like to be a Christian who was so mired in shame, to be someone just that I thought there wasn't another side to this, right? Like this was going to be what I was just stuck in for the rest of my life. And also knowing that the message that I feel like the Lord gave me and what He brought me through is of a greater freedom than even what people who, to our previous point, who are sober still need,
mm,
right? They need the message of freedom that is found in Jesus.
yeah.
And that's not really, by the way, a popular thing to say these days, especially in the addiction space.
Yeah.
And so the campaign, I'm calling it the 50-50 campaign. And so the idea is if I can raise the money to send 50 boxes of books to 50 treatment centers in all 50 states for
Okay.
$50. And so there's a lot of 50s in there. So I guess I could have gone the 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. That doesn't roll off the tongue.
Right.
Um, and so I'm hoping to raise the money to send it to people. I've already got someone helping me identify treatment centers to send these to, and the idea is if I can get 1,000 people to donate $50, we will be in perfect shape to meet the goal, even exceed the goal in the sense of maybe it's not just 50 treatment centers, maybe it's more, and maybe there's ways we can bring this message through some marketing efforts to reach more people. But so that's why I'm calling it the 50/50 campaign. We're about $2,000 towards our $50,000 goal, and I'm hoping like. Listen, if you can't give 50 and you can give 10, like go ahead,
Right.
because there's also people I know who can give 100. And we've had people donate $10. We've had people donate $250,
Yeah.
and both of them are partners in this. And so that is the idea, is by the time the book launches, hopefully in October, we can raise enough funds to give it away, to bring the message of hope to addicts, alcoholics, people who need to hear the hope of the gospel. And I think this is the vehicle to do it.
Yeah, well, it's an incredible vehicle to do it. And I'm just, as I sit here and think of the family members, people that have in my own life who've struggled
Mm,
with alcohol and drug addiction specifically. About 3 years ago, my older brother Zach died of an overdose,
mm,
and um, and I recognize it's real. So I'm committing publicly here that I'm going to be donating to this campaign
mm,
after this call, because it is something that people need rescue from. They need to
yeah,
realize that there's real people that have gone through the journey and come out the other side.
yeah,
Like this isn't just some fairy tale make believe
yeah.
that you can't find freedom. Like no, the promises of Jesus that he makes all things new.
Mm,
And we can find that in our life as we submit to the process, and that's not easy. But everything that's good usually comes through a not easy
yeah.
process. Like it's just the nature of things, because it is sacrifice that is what creates life in the first place. It's like
Mm,
it is the pouring out of self for the sake of someone else. That it's that difficulty that actually is what causes life to flourish. So I'm going to be donating myself and thinking of individuals that I know that have had this struggle in particular, and I'll be donating $50 for each one of them. So
oh,
I challenge people that are watching this to do the same, to think of that person, whether it's yourself or other people that you know that have struggled with addiction, that have walked through and continued to navigate that complex, that difficult thing, and donate to the campaign. GiveSendGo.com/50 hyphen 50, and be a part of seeing this word, this work
mm.
impact people's lives. So
Jacob, that means a lot. Thank you. So, and you're right. I mean, I think there's no one out there that I think hasn't been affected by addiction in some way. To
right.
your point, whether it's themselves, whether it's a family member, you know, I think the irony here is that I had a sister who was an addict as well, and I remember, to be really honest with you, looking down on her, how, can't you just get over it already? Like, come on, the stuff she's doing to our family. And guess what? I I fell into it as well. It looked different, right? Hers was, cocaine, and mine was alcohol, right? And I think
Right.
they're in the end we're both the same, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people, and I want to stress this too, is when the book comes out, maybe your addiction isn't alcohol, maybe it's not drugs, but maybe it is pride, maybe it is narcissism. The four steps that I talk about in this book, that I want to get into the hands of the people who need it most, is for so many things,
Mm.
right? I tell
Yeah.
people like it is these four steps. I can guarantee this, right? Here's your money back guarantee. They will help you. Even like they can't not, because they're so spiritual, right? And so yeah, thank you so much. My sister didn't die of an overdose, but um, she died as well. I, in a sense, I think because of the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Lifestyle put her in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And so while I can't say directly that addiction is what took her life, I know that it contributed to it. And so I think there's a lot of people out there as well that
Yeah.
can tell a similar story.
Right. No, 100% there is. And even just looking at the campaign, my push for people, donate if you can. Uh, think of that person that you know that's struggled and donate in their honor. But also, if you can't donate, pray. This is
Mm-hmm.
why we this is what sets our platform apart.
Yeah.
We believe fully that life and death is in the power of your tongue and the
Mm.
things that you say and how you can speak life and you can speak death. And I know when you're on a journey like this, John, the times come where it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult to like take the step forward and keep going. It's like, oh gosh, I got to do this again. I got to like keep pushing this thing forward, whatever it may be. And um, the pray button on GiveSendGo is an opportunity for people to just be an encouragement, to instill courage
Yeah.
into campaign owners. And we love that it's on our site. I think it's underutilized by people in just not knowing that what it could be used for. But for those of you that are listening, um, you may not have 50 bucks, give 10 bucks. But at the very least, which is probably greater than most, pray.
Yeah.
Send a message of encouragement. Lift John up in the journey that he's on in this process, and encourage him in helping to see people recover from broken places.
And
So,
can I say something, Jacob? I just want to be real here. I think I started the Send Go campaign, had looked at a competitor to not be named. Um, but I remembered our interaction and I'm like, there's something to this. I want to say the craziest thing was a few weeks ago. I got a call and, we all get numbers that we don't answer. And I didn't answer it, send it to voicemail. And I'm working at my desk. And then, you see the transcript pop up now. And I tell you what, I cried because I was to see that someone from GiveSendGo called me. And even when they got my voicemail, stopped and prayed for a couple minutes for me and my campaign and what it could do. I mean, it gives me chills right now just thinking about that. It kind of makes me like, that's insane in the best way possible. And so I just want to say, like, you guys practice what you preach. I'm excited. I'm honored to be on this platform. And I know it isn't easy for you guys, right? I mean, there's a lot of hard decisions that go into a platform like this. And so I just want to encourage you and say thank you and say that these people are real. Like when they say they pray for you, like you get those calls and I still have that voicemail. And so I just want to encourage you as well and say thank you.
wow, man, appreciate that for sure. It's definitely been a privilege to be able to talk with you and hear about what God's doing. So grateful that we met a year ago and that you're using GiveSendGo right now, and excited to hear about all the great endeavors to come in the future. I know that the best is yet to come. It is. I mean, heaven's our home. Wow, it
Yeah.
can't get much better than that. But there's so much in front of you. I can see it. The work that you're doing, I think, is incredible. Happy to partake in being a part of it with you. And again, for those of you listening, givesendgo.com/50-50. jump on, listen to the campaign, read the campaign, give, share it to your social media platforms and let people know about it. And then pray over the campaign, send a prayer message. Jon, is there any other places that you'd like to direct people to follow you, maybe on social media or a website? Any other any other spots that you have that you want to toss out?
Yeah, so if people want to learn more about the book or learn more about me, they can go to christianalcoholic.com, christianalcoholic.com. That will forward them to my website and specifically the section on there. And from there, I have a daily devotional that I write and send out through Substack, but you can
Okay.
sign up for it there. You can pre-order the book if you'd like. But honestly, I'd love if donate to the campaign first. That if you have some leftover money, buy the book because honestly, it's more important for me to get this in the hands of other people than to sell you the book. But if you want to do both, feel free. But yeah, go to christianalcoholic.com.
Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. Jon Seidl. That's how you pronounce the last name, right?
Seidel.
Seidl.
Yeah, but that's
Okay.
that's okay. I've bought johnseidel.com as well. Seriously.
Yeah, okay. Nice, Jon Seidl. Well, appreciate you coming on. So great to talk with you and look forward to speaking more in the future on the progress. So have a fantastic remainder of your day.
Thanks, Jacob.